Hi, welcome to the Dr. Dana Show. Today I'd like to introduce an amazing guest we have coming on today named Bob Fletcher. Rob's been instrumental in the martial arts community for many years. He's a trainer and also a bodybuilder for quite some time, and he's actually integrated the martial arts with bodybuilding before anyone even knew that you could do that. So I want to talk a little bit about his journey in health and fitness and his work he's been doing at Muscle and Fitness Plus, and also some of the older days he had with some of the top martial artists in the world and some of the top bodybuilders in the world. So with that said, no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Bob Fletcher today.
First, Dr. Dana, great seeing you. Thank you for having me on your show, and try to make it brief. My background is mainly martial arts, but back in the day, I did a lot of weightlifting, which I still do. But back in the day, it was known as cross training. You know, you're taking your activity and you're combining with another sport, my sport was weightlifting, but martial arts as well. And back then, it was sort of taboo to mix the two because, of course, as we know today, it's not true, where it's going to affect your mobility, your speed, and of course, slow you down, different things. But today we know better. But back then, I was one of the first to bring that together.
So do you think if Bruce Lee had muscle on him, he wouldn't have been so fast?
I don't think you can go wrong. I would just follow Bruce Lee's lead. I'm not going to dispute what Bruce.
Because he was very thin. I mean, he was like a muscle bound, like Leith, you know?
Yeah, he was a freak of nature, obviously.
Yeah.
And everyone has their different things, but for me, it was weightlifting. Another strong advocate of that, who I visited multiple times, and I'm thankful for, is Billy Blanks, of course, a multiple world champion and also the founder and creator of Tai Bo. I would fly up to his school in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and we would train. But as I started that process, it led me to compete in martial arts, multiple national championships, including the North American title, and then ultimately leading into film. And an interesting conversation is always when I was performing for Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
So back in 1990, Donald Trump and Vince McMahon teamed up to put together this big fitness expo at the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. And like you said, at that time, I was traveling around the country doing these basically feats of strength. I would break baseball bats.
Can you go into that for the audience and tell them what you were doing exactly? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, sure. I would set up stacks of ice around the stage, bricks, multiple baseball bats. And it was, at the time, I choreographed it to music. So I'd walk around the stage breaking all these things. And out of all the breaks, the one that people found most fascinating and unbelievable was the baseball bats with the shin. Because, you think of your shin as you hit your shin on something, it's very sensitive. But I did a lot of conditioning to do that. So that became very popular. So they found that out. So they wanted me to perform at the Atlantic City competition, which I did. And that led me to meeting Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Lorimer. So on your note, I was one of the first sports outside of bodybuilding to bring it to the Arnold Sports Festival, which at that time was the Arnold Bodybuilding Classic, which bodybuilding was the only event. So we did the martial arts leading into the first USA Karate Championships, and it led into being the largest sports festival in the world.
Wow.
Columbus, Ohio would generate anywhere between $60 to $80 million a year on that event, flood the city with 300,000 people, which also then led me to meeting the Weeders, another amazing relationship, which I'm extremely grateful and blessed for. They invited me to do an article with them in Muscle and Fitness, way back in the early 90s or late 80s even. And at that time, of course, no internet, no emails. That flooded my mail. Like, I would get letters from all over the world after that one little article.
Wow.
So that raised my awareness.
Okay, I want to go over one thing so it doesn't get too far away from it. When you were breaking the things, I mean, this is something on my mind, and I've always wondered, because there's Shaolin monks, and you know how they train intense, like scripture. If they miss one word, they have to go back a whole year and repeat it. I mean, I've seen shows on them, and they have incredible strength, but it's not physical strength necessarily. It's chi, or it's other kinds of energy besides physical muscle strength. And you must have had that if you're breaking things with your shins, which are much weaker than a baseball bat. So how do you get that, and how does that work? And I don't understand that exactly.
Yeah, so really, it's a state of believing. It's a mindset. I never thought before I even attempted those things, a brick, a bat especially, I just said I'll snap my shin in half, which I've seen people do on the bats. But with that said, I believed that I could do those things. And, one brick led to two bricks, led to six bricks, led to 12 bricks,
Really? 12
elbows,
bricks, like all
punches,
stacked together? You'd punch
right,
it?
punch it, elbows, palm.
And all of them would just break like you see on TV? I mean, like the cinder blocks kind
Yeah.
of thing? But how
Yes.
many of those were set up on stage? How many of these
Usually
things were
it'd be 4 stations of bricks, and then 2 to 4 stations of bats. And
and
the
you had
bats
no
would be,
marks on your hands or nothing? I
well, I can't
mean,
say I have no marks.
well, yeah, but nothing
Yeah.
would break?
No, fortunately, nothing broke.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the baseball bats were tricky because you would have to get people not to move because they would be set up vertically, and sometimes I would do two at once.
Oh, wow.
But if you're not really holding that bat
Yeah,
sturdy,
sure.
some people would flinch. They, let go of the bat, and that's where you can get injured.
Oh,
But
wow.
thankfully, I didn't run into too many of those issues.
That's so cool. Thank you for
But yeah,
clarifying that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing.
But it's a deep medicine, like all sports. Like I'll reference Jack Nicklaus because I love the game of golf. Back, my father started me when I was very young, and one of my first practices was following Jack's lead on mental visualization. He would look at the ball. He would visualize everything from the moment he lined up the ball to the swing to the trajectory of the ball, to where the ball is going to land, and he wouldn't hit the ball until in his mind saw every single flow
So,
state that
so
he would get.
Caddyshack, when I guess it was Chevy Chase says "be the ball" and he's going me 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 me
Be,
me. I mean, that is
be the
literally
ball.
like what you're doing, like
You
tracking
got it.
with your
Yeah.
mind, almost like radar. I think that in other areas in life and concentration, I mean, we do the qigong, falun gong every day, and that just focuses you so laser-like, right? You don't have any other thoughts. I think all this is predominantly it's working in the same field, right? Similar kind of thing.
Absolutely. I would go to bed at night, and one of the things, like I said, when I'll reference Jack, but I apply it to my martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, the night before he started, like say the Masters, he would walk through his mind before he went to sleep. He would actually fall asleep, walking the course and seeing every shot, seeing everything he did on the
Oh,
course.
wow.
And it's the same thing with fighters.
Yeah.
So if you go on the other end of the spectrum, a fighter, or what I did with the breaking, I would visualize those breaks before it even happened. And I just know I was extremely confident that it was going to happen. And you could see people with lack of confidence when they're attempting something.
Yeah.
You could, I'll go to Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson won the fight before he even threw a punch because of his confidence and his aura. He would step into that ring. Once he made that eye contact, you knew there was no way that man was losing.
Interesting.
And he would instill the fear of God in the opponent.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that confidence.
Interesting.
So that's also a big factor. Your training and preparation, that's going to affect your mindset.
So you met Joe Weider, and then you mentioned to me before that you were working with another person at Muscle and Fitness, and then they finally chose you to do Muscle and Fitness Plus. Is that correct? That's what happened?
Right. So, one of my mentors, great mentors and longtime friends, is Dr. Robert Bolman. He's truly an amazing man, worldwide leader and respected all over. He's originally the founder of NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which now has 1.7 million certified trainers.
Wow.
As you know, he's founded the A4M, the American Academy of Anti-Aging, which he started that with a dozen doctors. I think it was in Costa Rica, and he invited 300 on this concept of anti-aging. Really utilizing functional holistic medicine and approaches to not necessarily, of course, not de-age a person chronologically, but physiologically and biologically.
What year was that? When did he start that? Do you know?
That was the late 80s.
Oh, it was way back then. Okay.
Way
so
back,
people must have been just like, what is this crazy thing, right? And more or less, like, what is he doing?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's the story of most successful people. They think you're either nuts or it's never going to work. and as we know, the anti-aging industry right now, which many of your practices revolved around the holistic, functional anti-aging approach.
Part of it,
it's approaching a $600 billion
Oh,
industry.
it's going to skyrocket. It's going to be
Yeah,
a trillion. And with RFK now, I think it really
exactly.
has a huge chance. And we're going to hopefully debunk all the bad research and do new research and find out, what is really working and what is hurting us, what isn't hurting us.
But it's also a big component is education and raising awareness. So if you look back in time on big pharma, all these pharmaceutical companies, how much money they put into medication and promoting prescription drugs as opposed to really spending some of that money into education, raising awareness in regards to prevention.
Oh, I
What
totally
people,
agree. There
yeah,
isn't any, and it doesn't
there isn't
sell.
any.
It makes no money. Everything was based on the dollar, which is not medicine. We've completely gotten away from healing and taking care of people, compassion. It's insane what's happened over the last like 20 years. But I think now it's starting to will be fixed eventually, or at least maybe that medicine. Some people will still want to go to their MDs and get drugs and surgery. That's fine, but it'll probably get smaller and smaller and smaller, while the other side grows huge.
I agree 100%. And that's why it's awesome to see people like yourself, leaders in the industry that are taking that proactive approach, not only taking in clients, but really, it's a personal journey for the client, but you're taking the time to educate them to raise their own personal awareness
Right.
on, how to prevent chronic disease and illness. What steps do we need to take? Holistic approach.
Yeah, what I just mentioned about the drugs and the surgery and all that, definitely need, I mean, that you cannot ever get away from that. And there's amazing surgeons, there's amazing MDs, there's amazing doctors. What I'm talking about is the chronic illness that's been exacerbated, or the patient's been debilitated by chemicals of pharmaceuticals that are chemicals that don't know, they're completely foreign to the human body. We've used natural medicine. I've been doing this for 20 years, so I can honestly say there's almost everything I've ever come across there's a way to heal it naturally without any pharmaceuticals.
I agree.
If it's acute though, and somebody waits too long and they got kidney infections from a UTI, okay, great, we have stuff to nail it. But after that's done, we need to fix the problem. Always get rid of the acute, but let's look at the chronic issue. What was the chronic issue that started this to begin with? And we fixed that so the patient doesn't have to keep going through this all the time, spending all this money on pharmaceuticals, and that's unfortunately what the model is. Sick care. Sick care.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the first things, like in 2010, I was working for a doctor. He had a gym. And one of the first things I proposed to him was, why don't we start doing blood work? We'll get the blood work done.
Nice.
Because when you talk about checkups, you could talk to multiple people today. Some people don't even remember when the last time they got their blood work done. So when you talk about prevention, what's happening on the inside of the body, and how to better prescribe or make a prescription, not only through your perspective as a doctor and you're the leader in that industry, but also working with personal trainers on how they could better modify a program according to your lifestyle, objectives, goals, and needs. But you're not going to know that if you're going years without getting blood work done, or just ignoring your own health, and you just keep consuming these foods. Like you said, many of the things that we take in, it's, the marketing is very tricky.
Yeah.
And you're still consuming what you think is healthy is not healthy. And it's actually toxic, and it's going to cause that inflammation, which, as you know, too, inflammation's a killer. That's, that gut-brain connection is huge,
massive,
and people have to pay attention to that.
It's funny what you say, because if you look at this from female versus male perspective, I think what you're talking about most is men right now, right? Because women seem to be much more proactive. I don't think they would go 5 years without doing some kind of gynecological something. They would get a checkup, but men are different. Men seem to think, even if they have chest pain, they really won't go to the doctor until they can't get an erection.
I agree.
Literally, it's the erection that gets them in there usually. So but then that's late by then, because if they don't get the blood flow down there, they're not getting the blood flow up here either.
I agree with that. When's the last time you got real good checkup, a health screening, your blood work done?
Like, so many people are so afraid to go to the doctor, and find what's bad. But on our labs, I mean, we can fix most of these things with natural medicines, IV therapy, peptides, hormone balancing, nutrition, exercise, and we combine them all together. So if hopefully people will listen to this, and they'll do what you want to do, and they'll go to the gym, and they'll just get a basic lab panel, a little bit more than that, hopefully, have some hormones, and, have like major inflammatory markers for the heart, the vascular system, stroke, diabetes. Those are most important. And then if they have those issues, go to somebody, because it's not like, oh, you have to immediately go to surgery. You know what I mean? And then maybe that's what they're thinking. I'm going to die in surgery. That's like the worst thing that could happen. Well, it's never really like that. But if you don't do it, then you're going to take a big chance, and you may end up in surgery, or you may not end up anywhere. If you're gone, heart attack, you don't have a second chance usually. So that's why
I agree.
it's so serious. Yeah.
I think that people get caught up in their day-to-day way of living or way of life, and you're not going to change until you decide to change, and change is only going to happen
It starts
when you
here. It's all in the mind, really. That's the number one.
You have to change your habits. I mean, if you're going day to day without working out, or even fueling your mind, body, and spirit, those paying attention. I'm not talking about a dramatic change, just little steps. I mean, meditation, for example. Today everyone's so caught up in their stressful, high anxiety, overwhelming, fear and panic of the future. They don't take that time, and you're a big advocate of this for yourself, for your own practices there.
Oh, totally.
On how to, just let your mind relax. And you don't have to start off doing 30 minutes, because some people can't stay still for 5 minutes. Well, if you can't stay still for 5 minutes.
Not even that, but just not reading the news for a week. Or not going on social media for one day. I mean, just think about it. All that stuff with Trump and everything was going crazy, the last election, and even now, I've been on it quite a bit. And then all of a sudden I realized, I don't feel very good. I feel tired. I started to fall asleep like it was, and then all of a sudden I said, you know what? And I did this before. Let me do this like 3 or 4 days. I'm going to take all those apps off my phone. I'm just going to concentrate on my patients, study my biochemistry. Dr. Holtorf gave me a mold book this thick. It's all biochemistry. And so, you know what happened after those 3 or 4 days? Nothing.
No.
Nothing. My environment didn't change. The people I work with, it got better because I was more, talking to people more. I was connecting with people more. When I'm doing that social media and the news, it gives you this energy. It's not good,
And people are going to sleep scrolling.
That's
They're
not
going
good,
to sleep
man.
scrolling.
Yeah.
They're waking up scrolling. So over the years, my protocol in the morning is, it probably takes about a total of 45 minutes, but I get up around 3 o'clock, 3:30.
Nice.
The first thing I do, you talk about habit change, and habits are a huge component of people. They have to just small changes in your day-to-day way of life. So when I found out about the cold shower, that's a game changer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because I would wake up and I would always take my time. I go into a nice warm shower.
Yeah.
Now it's something I dread. But the beautiful thing about that mentally is you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. So now you take that throughout the course of the day. How many things that we know we have to do that we don't do? Now I stay in there for 3 minutes and I dread every second of it.
3 minutes in New Jersey?
In the cold shower. It's cold. It's extremely cold.
I was just there, my parents, and it was like 22 degrees the first day. I thought it was a deep freeze.
Yeah, so I don't do the cold plunge. I just go into the cold shower, but the water is ice cold.
No, because it's outside, the water pipes. And when you first turn them on, it's like 37 degrees. It's brutal.
But it affects all your neurotransmitters and everything else. So 3 minutes, I go from just a grogginess to being wide awake. But then after I do the cold shower, I go into prayer, gratitude, and intention.
Nice.
I slowly work my way into that. Then I go into meditation, mindfulness meditation, and visualization for about 5 minutes to 8 minutes. Then I go to motivation, something that's very positive and uplifting. Then I read my protocol. Part of it is 5 minutes on the Bible, then 5 minutes reading a new book of the month, whatever that book is.
And think about how short those periods of time are. That's not even that much. And you're moving from one thing to the next, so you're not getting bored with any of it. And it makes it interesting, I guess, right?
And it does. And every day I write down, even though I know what I need to do.
Okay.
I write it down. So I have about 10 things that I need to do within 45 minutes. I check each one off because now before my day even started, I completed 10 things of my tasks.
Oh, so wow. Just before your day even starts, you're doing 10 things.
10 things. Because you did your cold shower. I did the mindfulness meditation. So now I go into, after that, I write out my goals for the day, the journal. Then, of course, I have my workout. And then it's reinforcement. So what I say is read, watch, listen, learn, reinforce, apply, try.
Wow. I didn't know you did all this. It's an amazing program you have. Well, that's why you're still lifting weights at 95, right?
Yeah, 96 today.
Oh, 96. Okay. Now because I remember seeing something you were saying how, some days I just don't want to do it, but I do it anyway.
Who does? That's the line. That's the great line. I don't want to do it, but I do it anyway. And that's conditioning, because anyone listening to this, if you're not getting your mind right, if you're not working out, not taking care of yourself, it starts with one simple thing. If you can't do 15 minutes of a workout, do 5. Because you will be surprised on the progression of that habit change.
That's great. Yeah.
The habit change, Atomic Habits, that was a great book. But I always reinforce, like I said earlier, those words, listening to podcasts, listening to things that are going to motivate you, inspire you. The first 40, imagine being on the phone or your computer the first 45 minutes of the day, and all you're doing is scrolling the media and TikTok and Instagram, and you're consuming all that stuff.
It's bad energy, because that people don't understand that energy goes into your body because you chose it. If you don't choose it, it's going to go into your body. I'm pretty sensitive because we practiced the meditation for so many years. We're wide open. So it's our choice. And we know better. I mean, if I watch a movie or something, or even half of it, I don't feel so good, that, and it depends what it is. But
yeah, I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by great people too. Doctors like yourself, Dr. Patrick Porter. One of the things when I do my mindfulness meditation, it's incorporating his. You could do it by yourself, of course, close your eyes, shut everything down, but it's called the Brain Tap. Don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I know Brain Tap. Yeah, it's good.
It's awesome. That's a game changer too, and that's for anyone who wants to just completely relaxation technique, but you also have optimal performance. Yeah. It has recovery. So it's audio, visual, and it's sound. So you're listening to all these things, and see, the light. So I'm a big believer in the light and the sound, but I'm also a big believer in red light therapy as well, cryotherapy as well. Salt chamber. So there's different modalities out there that are really enhancing and optimizing.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to have some kind of program and definitely incorporate many or all or some of the things you're talking about, and even baby steps. I try to help people do that. So go into a little bit about how Muscle and Fitness was, a lot of big bodybuilders lifting weights for a lot of years, competitions, and all of a sudden Muscle and Fitness Plus. What is that?
Sure. So, of course, Joe and Ben Weider founded Muscle and Fitness back. I would order every printed version of the magazine back when it was a print, available. So Muscle and Fitness, Flex Magazine, Muscle and Fitness Hers, Shape Magazine. And those were popular magazines, but strictly really just, the perspective of the gym, workout, nutrition, and motivation. But as you see time evolve, in 2013, Dr. Bob, as you know, had the A4M conference. He was a driving force behind that, turning that into the most successful longevity conference in the world. So when you take that back to the words we used earlier, education, raising awareness, some of these bodybuilders, it's a science to get that body to perform. I mean, I know there's performance enhancing drugs, and all these other things.
So it's not just steroids. That would hurt them. So they have to keep in shape, even if they weren't using it.
And they know what they're doing. Yeah. They actually, most of them, many of them, try to take a shortcut.
No.
But anyway, I saw this synergy between the bodybuilding world and Dr. Bob's world of longevity, wellness, anti-aging, again, referencing back to what I said earlier, beginning with the blood work. To also, because what the bodybuilders do, they get their bodies to such a large size of just mass, and they're walking around with this low percentage of body fat, especially when they walk on the competition stage. That's probably one of the most unhealthiest places to be when you're that size, that low body weight, and you're just basically dehydrated.
So now
how can we make that recovery quicker and optimize their recovery time?
Right.
So I started with the blood work, and then I went to Dr. Bob. I said, why don't we try to align these two worlds? So, I presented it to David Pecker. David Pecker was the owner of Muscle and Fitness and the platform after Joe and Ben Weider. And he really didn't have interest in this whole concept. But then Jake Wood, I was working in Scottsdale or Phoenix, Arizona at the time, and he was working out at the same gym. And he introduced himself, which I knew who he was, but he invited me to the office, and he was very interested in this anti-aging world, hormone optimization, TRT, the different modalities out there that can help his bodybuilders, not only look and feel better, but also do things safer, and where they're working more closely with the doctor. So we came up with this concept, or they did, with this Muscle and Fitness Plus platform, and this was one part of it, was bringing this anti-aging market into that space. So they offered different experts in the field of wellness, longevity, a platform which was offered for free. So basically, like if you came along and you wanted your own channel, that would be one way to educate and raise awareness of people that would tune in. So offering the opportunities to the leaders and experts in the industry of health, wellness, and longevity.
So you had nutritionists and you had I mean, were there orthopedists talking about
Pretty,
injuries at all,
yeah,
or it's just
it
mostly
did lead,
prevention
yeah,
and
it did
wellness?
lead into other experts.
Okay,
It did go from not just the functional approach or holistic
right.
approach, but it led to there's really an opportunity to have these doctors. Back to what you just stated, the orthopedic person. You have an expert out there giving different ways prior to surgery on how you could possibly prevent that
Yeah, maybe you
from
didn't need
happening.
surgery if you had done
Correct.
shockwave machine or wasabi method, and then you had some ozone, I mean, and nutrition. But remember, because even what we do in our office, some guy comes in with a shoulder or a knee, I'm going to tell him right off the bat, we need to do at least probably 10 IVs, and 4 or 5 are going to be a major, incredibly massive nutrition, because all those vitamins and minerals and things are metabolic cofactors, and you're not getting them in the food you're eating. So when you have an injury,
Right.
you need them even more because the body's screaming for the building blocks to fix those injuries. If I start fixing the injuries, I still need the building blocks. And I need the energy. I need your mitochondria. I need ATP. People don't get this. But when you start putting it all together and you can actually increase those things, you get healing. I mean, it's amazing. And sometimes they say bone on bone, but we still get the person completely out of pain for
Right.
months or even years, so it's possible.
No, I agree 100%. That's like the products and services that are out there that gym owners can not only, assist in prevention and optimizing health and wellness, but it's also a great opportunity to increase their streams of revenue. And then to what level, it depends. So an example is the modalities we talked about earlier. A lot of the gyms now are catching on. You don't need many gyms have a little room like this, my little conference room here. You could put multiple beds in there for whether it's an IV therapy, whether it's red light therapy, whether it's brain tap, whatever it is. So now, another protocol to enhance and optimize your members' health and wellness, and not only your members, but trainers, the clients. So take National Academy of Sports Medicine. As I said, now 1.7 million trainers certified worldwide. Now they're listening to this podcast and maybe they don't think too much about aligning with the doctor. Now all of a sudden it opens up their ears and eyes to a whole new possible concept and platform. And many of them now have their own podcast, just like what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Again, what are you doing? You're providing information, education, raising awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people may know, many may not know. I would assume many do not know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of IVs. I mean, not just for nutrition, but to even performance. I mean, there's so many IVs, and there's a lot of new stuff coming out every day. The peptides have gotten a really bad rap. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't want to get into it, but there's doctors using them in IVs with no problem at all. I mean, I believe most of them. I don't do anything like that because it's not, that's not on the protocols. But they're amazing, enhancing performance and helping decrease inflammation, regenerating tissue if you have an injury. So, there's a lot of stuff on the way that's going to be coming out soon that I think even just you and I are talking about that nobody even knows about yet, or a handful of people, that the whole public's going to probably have that at their fingertips in the next year or two.
And I think right
anyway.
now, as I said earlier, with the new administration, I mean, as we're talking about peptides, BPC 157, extremely popular. I don't know where that stands right now in the whole scheme of things, but the peptides right now, they got a bad rap. But I think a lot of the doctors and a lot of the studies that are out there show how peptides are a way of
They
healing
have
and
no side effects.
no
Let me
side
tell you,
effects.
Rob, I don't care what if any study says there's some issue, I need to read it because something's not right, because we know for a fact, and Dr. Holtorf, who I interviewed just a couple weeks ago, he has his own company making the oral ones now. And that's completely legal. The oral ones are fine. I don't think they have any problem with that. And we've had amazing results with those things, fixing the gut, decreasing inflammation, increasing and modulating the immune system. So blocking the autoimmunity, but getting your immune system stronger. So yeah, they're out there.
All the things that we spoke about, just to manage, if you just take a few of the things and implement it into your lifestyle, whether you're already working out or exercising, or whether you're not working out or exercising, you just increase and raise your own awareness onto, okay, I want to explore this, whether it's for yourself or for a loved one or for a friend that may be experiencing some sort of challenge, whether it's just health-wise or addiction or something. There are things out there that will help and that will make a difference.
Totally.
And that are game changers.
Oh, I agree 100%. Well, listen, it's been amazing talking to you today. And if the last words of wisdom for anybody, let them know now, and let's hear what you have to say.
Just get your mind right. Anything can change, but nothing's going to change if you don't uh, make that commitment to your mindset. I want my life to be this way. Visualize, meditate, make your own protocols. If you can't do 15, do 5, but you can do it.